our last video, we talked about the roadmaps to get a job in cybersecurity. We ended on a critical idea. To be an elite defender, you must first learn to think like an attacker. Today, we're putting that into practice. Forget theory, forget textbooks. We are stepping into the mind of a hacker during one of the most destructive cyber attacks in history. Imagine a hospital's systems suddenly freezing. Patient records, gone. Life-saving equipment, offline. Now imagine that happening to a country's power grid, its banks, its biggest shipping companies, all at the same time. This isn't a movie. This is what a real, weaponized ransomware attack looks like. And over the next 8 minutes, we are going to dissect it, piece by piece. We'll follow the code from the very first breach to global chaos. By the end of this, you won't just know what ransomware is, you'll understand how it thinks. Part 1. The Patient Zero. Every cyber attack begins with a single point of entry, a way in. For the most sophisticated attacks, it's not about sending a million phishing emails. It's about finding one perfectly placed key. In this case, the hackers, a group known as Sandworm, didn't target a global bank or a power plant directly. No, their target was much smarter. A small Ukrainian company that made tax software called MEDOC. Think of it like this. Instead of trying to break into every apartment in a building, you steal the master key from the building manager. MEDOC was that master key. It was required software for any business operating in Ukraine. The hackers got in years earlier through a simple phishing email to an employee. They didn't do anything. They just sat there, silently, inside the company's network, waiting. They created a backdoor, giving them control over MEDOC's software updates. And on June 27, 2017, they decided to use it. They hid their weapon inside a legitimate software update and pushed it out to every single one of MEDOC's customers. The bait was set.
Part 2. The Invasion. The moment a single computer in a network downloaded that update, the weapon activated. This malware wasn't just a virus. It was a worm. It didn't need a human to click anything else. It was designed to spread on its own. And it was armed with a stolen superweapon. To move from one computer to another, the worm used two powerful exploits stolen from the US National Security Agency, EternalBlue and Eternal Romance. Imagine every computer on a network has locked doors. This worm didn't bother trying to pick the locks. EternalBlue was a ghost key. It exploited a hidden vulnerability in Windows that let it pass right through the walls, completely undetected. But once it was in the next room, how did it get full control? It used another tool called Mimikatz. Think of this as a skeleton key. It could pull passwords and credentials directly out of a computer's memory, giving the worm the highest level of administrator access. So in minutes, you have a worm that can teleport through walls and, once inside, instantly become the master of that machine. It began to replicate, spreading like wildfire through entire global networks. Part 3. The Lockdown. Once the worm spread as far as it could, it began its primary mission. For 1 hour, it sat quietly and started the encryption process. Encryption is essentially scrambling data. The worm took every file, documents, photos, databases, and locked it with a complex mathematical key. The original readable file was gone, replaced by unusable gibberish. But it didn't stop there. After the files were locked, the worm delivered the final, devastating blow. It attacked something called the Master Boot Record, or MBR.
The MBR is like the ignition switch for your computer. It's the very first thing your PC reads to know how to start up and load Windows. The worm encrypted this, too. So not only were all your files locked in unbreakable safes, but someone had also poured concrete into the ignition of the car. The computer was now a brick. When it rebooted, there was no Windows, no login screen, just a single, chilling message. Part 4. The Deception. The message on the screen looked like typical ransomware. It read, "Your files are no longer accessible. Send $300 worth of Bitcoin to this address." But here is the terrifying twist. The part that elevates this from a crime to an act of cyber war. There was no key. The payment system was a fake. The email address for support was shut down almost immediately. Security researchers who analyzed the code confirmed it. The encryption process was one way. The data wasn't being held for ransom. It was being systematically destroyed. This wasn't ransomware. It was a wiper, disguised as ransomware. Its true purpose was never to make money. It was to cause maximum, irreversible damage, to paralyze a nation's infrastructure under the cover of a criminal shakedown. And because it spread so fast, it didn't just hit Ukraine. It crippled Maersk, the world's largest shipping company. It cost FedEx hundreds of millions of dollars. It halted production at pharmaceutical companies. It was the single most costly cyber attack in history. So let's trace it back. From a single patient backdoor in a small software company, to a worm armed with nation-state weapons, to the systematic destruction of data across the globe, all hidden behind a fake ransom note. That is the anatomy of a modern cyber weapon. And understanding that entire chain, from start to finish, is the first step to building a real defense. Now, I want to hear from you. What was the most shocking part of this attack to you? The stolen NSA tools, or the fact that it was a wiper in disguise? Let me know in the comments below. And if you're serious about understanding this world and want to continue thinking like a hacker, make sure you subscribe to the channel for more deep dives like this. Thanks for watching. Stay curious.